Hello, race fans. This is Rob from the Area 51 Racing Podcast. Tonight I'm coming to you uh, live with episode 77 of Rob's Race Report and also Rob's hot takes from this past week in NASCAR. Tonight I'll be giving the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, NASCAR Xfinity Series, and NASCAR Cup Series race report for Nashville Super Speedway from this past weekend, along with my hot takes from this past week in the NASCAR world. We'll start out with my race report for the Craftsman Truck Series. The Truck Series race was really a good race. They were able to race side by side. It was a fun race to watch. Friday was their practice and qualifying. They got in qualifying, but they got in practice, but at the end of practice, it started to rain, and so they canceled qualifying and set up the field by the rulebook metrics. That put the pole winner as Corey Heim, the number 11 Tricon Garage Toyota. Like I said, the race was really good, side-by-side action. It was dominated by Corey Heim, the driver number 11 Tricon Garage Toyota. Lane Riggs, the driver of the number 34 Front Row Motorsports Ford, and Raja Caruth, the driver of the number 71 Spire Chevy. Through the majority of the race, those trucks were running at the front and chasing each other for the lead, passing each other. They were basically the three best trucks on the track, in my opinion. On a restart on lap 104 as a result of a caution, the race in between Heim, Riggs, and Caruth was phenomenal. They were racing side by side. They were door to door at times, trying to pass one another. And eventually, Raja Caruth was finally able to clear Corey Heim and got enough of a lead where Heim fell back enough. But then towards the last, I think, like 4 or 5 laps, started to reel Caruth back in. And Caruth ultimately ended up winning the race, getting his first win for the season, locking himself into the playoffs. But Heim definitely was closing in on his rear bumper as Caruth crossed the finish line. Like I said, Raja Caruth in the 71 Spire Motorsports Chevy got his first win of the season, locking himself into the playoffs. P2 was Corey Heim, the number 11 Tricon Garage Toyota. And P3 was Lane Riggs, the driver of the number 34 Front Row Motorsports Ford. The NASCAR Xfinity Series / Jeremy Clements Racing race report. The Xfinity Series had practice and qualifying on Saturday morning. The pole winner was William Swalich in the number 18 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. The practice for Jeremy Clements was a little rough. They did 4 runs totaling 25 laps. The car was really tight center off. They kept trying to work on it. And ultimately, his practice time was P38 on the board. Case Kalmbach is crew chief, and the team went to work to get the car better for qualifying. Jeremy ended up having a decent qualifying run. He ended up qualifying P18. However, now his car was free in and then tight when he got back on the gas and then free off. He said the car was hard to drive. Case and the team again went to work on the car to get it ready to go. They started P18 in the race, stage 1. They battled a tight car. There was a caution on lap 35 for a wreck involving the number 4 car, Parker Retzloff. for AM Racing. Crew chief Case Kallenbach made a great call, told Jeremy to stay out, even though he had a really ill handling car, because they wanted to try to get some stage points. Jeremy agreed. He said stage points make a difference. So they ended up restarting P3. And for a handful of laps, Jeremy actually was leading the field until the strongest car in the field, who had pitted to get fresh tires, Justin Allgaier in the number 7 Junior Motorsports Chevy, just basically drove by him. Allgaier had the strongest car by far on track and dominated the race. I mean, he could go anywhere on that track and his car was like on rails. Ultimately, the gamble to stay out and to get stage points paid off. Jeremy finished P2 in stage 1 and earned 9 stage points. The other side of staying out was they had to then pit where the other teams didn't have to. So they ended up starting towards the rear of the field as a result, or restarting, I should say, after they pitted at the end of the stage as a result of staying out to get the stage points. Case Kallenbach, the crew chief and the pit crew and team continued to make adjustments on the car, trying to get it dialed in for Jeremy. The adjustments they made at the end of stage 1 made the car really loose and didn't help with his front turn as he was chattering the tires. Again, they continued to work on the car, the stage to get it better, but it was still tight and chattering the front tires. Jeremy ended up finishing stage 2 in P30. Stage 3, it was basically the same thing. He had a tight car where he's chattering the tires in the corner, and they could continue to work on it, kept on it. And on the restart to begin stage 3, the numbers 00 car driven by Sheldon Creed of Haas Factory Team decided, for some reason, he was on the inside line, I believe, on the front row. In the restart zone, he wasn't the control car. He was the P2 car, or second place car in the field. And he decided to slow down and brake check briefly the inside line, causing an accordion effect behind him, which resulted in a huge wreck because all the cars started checking up and they couldn't stop in time, so they were rear-ending each other. Jeremy, unfortunately, was involved in this. He ended up rear-ending the number 44 Alpha Prime car driven by Brennan Poole. Jeremy said he hit him pretty decent, but he thought he hit him square in the rear of the car. Per Jeremy's spotter RC and Jeremy's crew chief Case Kallenbach, they looked at photos and used binoculars to look at the damage to the front bumper of the car, and they said it wasn't that bad. It was just the right side front bumper split at the seam like it did the week prior, and that it wasn't worth coming in, losing track position to fix at that time. They ended up continuing to make adjustments, battling the car tight center off, and ultimately Jeremy was able to battle his way back into the top 20, finishing the race P19. After the checkered flag flown, crew chief Case Kallenbach radioed Jeremy and the team, told them they did a great job, and also told them with the stage points added to their 19th place finishing position in the race, it totaled a actual P11 finish for the race. Case also complimented the pit crew for making up approximately 7 spots on pit road during the race. And he also said to the team and Jeremy that this was their 7th or 8th top 20 out of the 14 races they ran so far this season. The Xfinity Series is off this weekend. They return on Saturday, June 14th at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the CW for the Mexico City road course race. Like I said, Justin Allgaier, the number 7 Junior Motorsports Chevy, was the class of the field, had the fastest car on track all day. And he ended up leading the most laps for the 3rd consecutive race. This is the 2nd time in his career that he has done this. He did it also in 2020. Chevy has now won 12 of the first 14 races. This is the first time in NASCAR history that a manufacturer has ever done this. That just blows my mind. Chevy obviously has something figured out and is extremely dominant right now. So I'm a huge Chevy fan, so I'm happy with that. But that is a pretty lopsided number and basically a butt kicking by Chevy, in my opinion. Like I said, Allgaier won the race. P2 was Connor Zilisch in the number 88 Junior Motorsports Chevy. And then P3 was Sam Mayer in the number 41 Haas Factory Team Ford. Jeremy Clements is currently 19th in the point standing, and he's actually only 10 points out of P17. So he needs to put a couple of good races together, and he will be gradually working his way back up into the point standings. The NASCAR Cup Series report. I didn't watch the race again this week, and I don't because I don't have Amazon Prime subscription. I don't plan on getting a Prime subscription to watch the Cup races. I did read on social media that there was a decrease of 400,000 viewers for the Nashville race compared to last year's Nashville race aired on FS1 compared to being streamed on Amazon Prime. That to me is a significant amount of lost viewers for NASCAR, and it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see over the course of these 5 races to see how the numbers compare to last year, having it on basically public television instead of a streaming service. The way this TV schedule is for the Cup Series this year, it's broken up between different TV providers. It's just goofy. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that works. I did obviously look at the race results and look at some of the highlights from the race. Read some social media stuff about the race and stuff. So I am a little bit familiar with what happened in the race. The biggest thing, Carson Hocevar has been doing well as of late. He drives the number 77 Spire Motorsports Chevy. However, I guess, in my opinion, he ended up coming up the track, making contact with the left rear of the number 47 Hayek Motorsports Chevy, driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on lap 106 of 300, and put Ricky Stenhouse Jr. into the wall, ending his race. Carson Hocevar has a reputation of driving aggressively and sometimes just driving, I guess, not smart, causing wrecks and that type of stuff. And he's done it in the Truck Series, and it's carried on into the Cup Series. Hocevar is a super talented driver, and he's a great kid. It's just, I guess, until he's taught by a veteran driver to, not drive like that. I don't know. I did see, I believe it was the Spire Motorsports owner or one of the people in the upper management of Spire did talk to Carson about his driving and the incident with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and that they told him to not drive like that anymore. So that's the gist of the conversation I heard. That's not the exact words, but that's the gist of the conversation. So I'm surprised that the last time Stenhouse Jr. got put in the wall was by Kyle Busch in the All-Star race last year at North Wilkesboro. And if you're a NASCAR fan or don't live under a rock, you know exactly what happened last year at the All-Star race after that incident happened. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in his T-shirt, flip-flops, and board shorts was standing at the tailgate of Kyle Busch's race hauler, waiting for him after the race. Stenhouse Jr.'s father was also there, and when Busch came over to his hauler, Stenhouse confronted him, and Stenhouse ultimately ended up throwing a punch and hitting Kyle Busch in the face. And then a melee started. The pit crew got involved. I think there was one of Kyle Busch's pit crew members, I think he's called Big Cowboy or something, was like throwing people off the tailgate like they were like a little gallon of milk or whatever. I mean, it was like he was just grabbing them and tossing them. So I was like, oh, Carson Hocevar is going to end up facing the wrath of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. again. But I was surprised to see that didn't happen. I think Stenhouse Jr. maybe learned from that incident where he ended up, I believe he got a 1 race suspension and a fine, and his dad got suspended for getting involved in being in the altercation. So it'll be interesting to see if Stenhouse Jr. Pays back Hocevar at some point this season during a race on track. It'd be interesting to see, because if it's too obvious by Stenhouse Jr., NASCAR is going to know it's payback, and they're probably going to fine him and or suspend him for doing it intentionally. And Hocevar has to know in the back of his mind he's got one coming from Stenhouse Jr. and probably a lot of other drivers that he's upset and raced over aggressively and or wrecked over the course of the season. So, but ultimately, Ryan Blaney in the number 12 Penske Ford won the race. P2 was Carson Hocevar in the 77 Spire Chevy. I believe that's Carson's career best NASCAR Cup Series finish. And then P3 was actually Denny Hamlin in the number 11 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Denny Hamlin didn't even know he was going to race for sure at Nashville, because his wife was going to be delivering their baby any day, and he was on baby watch. And they actually had drivers standing by to replace him. I believe it was Corey Heim that was going to jump in the number 11 car and run the race if Denny had to leave. As of the podcast, today is Friday, June 6th. I have not heard if Denny and his wife have had their baby or not. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to race this weekend at Michigan, or if they're going to have a substitute driver on standby again. So, but that is my race reports, and I want to let everybody know that the race reports are brought to you by a new partner of our Area 51 Racing podcast. Their name is Overwear Apparel LLC. It's a family-owned custom apparel company located in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, my hometown, actually. The business is owned and operated by Ken Reynolds and his son, Brent. They offer high-quality custom screen printed and embroidered apparel. They have great customer service and are easy to work with. Check them out on their Facebook page, Overwear Apparel Group LLC, or at their website, www.overwearapparel.com, to see the services they provide and the products that they make. We are happy to announce, Bobby, Dave, and I, that Overwear Apparel will be printing our special edition Area 51 Racing Podcast 100th episode t-shirts and hoodies for us. I had a meeting the other day with Ken, and the process has started, and within, I'm going to say, the next week or two, stay tuned to our social media sites for the announcement and the posting of a QR code that you can click on with your phone that will direct you to our actual storefront with Overwear Apparel, where you'll be able to order a t-shirt in white, gray, or black, and a hoodie in black. Those are the options that we're offering for the merchandise for the 100th episode. I can say that when I met with Ken, he was super impressed with the artwork that Matman Chad, the owner of Matman Designs, Chad Harrington, designed the t-shirt for us, and his artwork, Ken said, was the best that he's ever worked with or received to work with from any artist in his 40 years in business. So kudos to Matman. I know Bobby, Dave, and I reached out to him and thanked him for his great artwork and hard work and support of our podcast. And, you know, not only that, but also being a friend of ours. We're really excited. Ken told me that the t-shirts that we picked are high quality, same with the hoodies, and that the screen printing will look really, really sharp and pop on the colors that we picked. So again, stay tuned to our social media sites. We'll let you know when the storefront is up and ready to go. We have to approve the prints. We're supposed to get a sample of the prints within a week or so. And then once we approve those, then that's when everything will be good to go, and everybody will be able to pre-order, or I shouldn't say pre-order, actually order the shirts and hoodies. The turnaround time from time of order, printing, and shipping is approximately 2 to 3 days, Ken said, give or take, depending on where they're going to. So it should be a pretty easy and self-explanatory transaction. All payment is done and shipping is done through the storefront. So hopefully we can get that up and running soon. We're all excited and looking forward to it, and we appreciate everybody that's shown interest already in letting Bobby know on the pre-order announcement that he posted, I think it was a week or so ago. So, but on that note, again, welcome aboard to Overwear Apparel LLC here in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Actually, Ken and his wife are both really good, close friends of mine. They do amazing work. Brent, or Ken works with his son, Brent. They're like a small independent company that knocks it out of the park on the products that they make. So we're fortunate that we were able to work with them and also partner with them now with their podcast. So on that note, I would like to thank our listeners for listening and viewers for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors. Without you, we would not, Bobby, Dave, and I would not be able to do this podcast, and also our listeners and viewers. We greatly appreciate all of you. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Spartan Waste, Fox Sports Spartanburg, Harrison's, Action RV, Kylie Glick Racing, Mattman Designs, The Runner's Roost, Alliance Driveway Solutions, Anna Amore Designs, Circle B Diecast, Driven Sunglasses and Driven Trackside, Elite Towing and Recovery, High Speed Auto, The Racing Warehouse and Armadillo Apparel, Belcher Cheesecake Creations, Flying Form Concrete Structures, Gale Beard Products, Wings, etc., Dialed In Focus Pouches by Whitetail Smokeless, Benzik Designs, Schanzenbach Landscaping, Enigma Tattoo Studio, Aero Parts Group, Overwear Apparel Group, LLC, and Jeremy Clements and Jeremy Clements Racing. Again, without any of our partners, our viewers, listeners, Bobby, Dave, and I couldn't do this, and we greatly appreciate the support and the time you take out of your day to support us, listen, watch our podcast. We greatly appreciate it. So on that note, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the races this weekend. The Cup Series and Truck Series are racing at Michigan International Speedway. Trucks have returned there. I think it's been 5 years or more since they've been there last. So it'd be cool to see. Xfinity Series is off. And I just remembered. I forgot to do Rob's Racing Hot Takes. So I jumped the gun on thanking the sponsors. I apologize. I'm going to go to Rob's Racing Hot Takes before we go. The first one I have is, again, I apologize. On May 27th, in a tweet posted by a NASCAR journalist for the MRN or Motor Racing Network, Mike Bagley, or the Bagman, stated that NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition, Elton Sawyer, stated increasing the horsepower on Cup cars is on the table and is being discussed daily, end quote. Now, I don't know if this is lip service by Elton Sawyer or if this is legitimately something that they're talking about. But previous discussions I heard was it's going to cost too much to do. These engines aren't going to be able to sustain the greater horsepower, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I did see Denny Hamlin on his Actions Detrimental podcast this week. He talked about Sawyer saying that they are talking about increasing the Cup car's engine horsepower from the current 670 horsepower to 750 horsepower. So if my math is right, that's 80 more horsepower to the engine, which is not a lot, but it's better than what they currently have. And Hammond said, it's a small win, but a move in the right direction. He said it's better than what we currently have, and told the current drivers that are complaining that it's not enough, they want more horsepower added, to just shut up and take what Sawyer is offering before, basically they take it off the table. Hamlin said that, in his opinion, the increase in horsepower will make the car setups more important, tire fall off management more important, and the driver's skills will matter more, which will lead to better racing. And I have to agree with him. Obviously, you watch this podcast, I'm not a fan of this current gen Cup car. And any improvement to the racing would be great, in my opinion. If we could have a race like the North Wilkesboro All-Star race or the Atlanta races, I'd be, or I guess it's now Echo Park. Unfortunately, they changed the name to Echo Park Raceway or something. Atlanta Speedway is now called. that, that would be great. So my second Rob's hot take is I've been purposely avoiding discussing this antitrust lawsuit that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have against NASCAR. As it seems to be changing daily. There's a lot of legal jargon and stuff. Even though I was a law enforcement officer for 21 years, a lot of it doesn't make sense because of obviously civil and it's antitrust laws and all that kind of stuff. And I just decided to not talk about it and stay away from it until there was like some type of major announcement or something major that happened that was going to basically show the cards of where this was going to go and point to the direction if NASCAR was going to win or if 2311 and Front Row Motorsports were going to win. And that was just the other day. Unfortunately for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, their injunction that was granted to them was overturned by the U.S. Court of Appeals, and they ruled in favor of NASCAR to vacate the injunction requiring NASCAR to treat 2311 and Front Row Motorsports as a chartered team. So at the end of last year, I believe it was, or before this season started, NASCAR presented the charter system paperwork to all the teams, the agreement, and 2311 and Front Row Motorsports decided not to sign it. And that's what ultimately started this whole antitrust lawsuit thing with them against NASCAR. So now, since the injunction has been vacated, they didn't sign the charters agreement, then they no longer now are considered a chartered team. So they're an open team, even though they paid to have a charter. NASCAR doesn't recognize it now. And they will now have to have all their cars race into all of the races. They won't get any provisionals. And because they aren't considered a charter team, they also won't get the added money that chartered teams will get. So they're going to be losing money and possibly sponsors, because now they can't guarantee that they're going to be in every race. And the other interesting thing is Tyler Reddick, who drives for 2311 in the number 45 Toyota, he actually has a provision in his contract that says that he will only drive for a team with a charter. So if they don't have a charter, he can technically say, see ya, in the middle of the season and go somewhere else, which I don't think that will happen, but who knows? I don't know if Denny Hamlin, who's the owner of 2311 and is under contract with Joe Gibbs Racing, convinces Joe Gibbs to allow him and Reddick to change spots, switch cars, because then Reddick would be under a chartered car, and then Hamlin would be racing for his own team as an open team or open car. I don't know if NASCAR will allow that, but I mean, that's one possibility that would work. Obviously, if Joe Gibbs Racing would approve it. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with all this. They have 14 days to appeal the ruling of the U.S. Court of Appeals. And if they do that or they don't do that, then in another 7 days or 21 days from the date of the ruling by the U.S. Court of Appeals, they will no longer be chartered teams. So it's going to be interesting to see ultimately what comes about all this, and if their sponsors start to bail or what the deal is. But it doesn't look good for 23XI and Front Row Motorsports. And then the last and final hot take I have this week, I read a article on the NASCAR app, NASCAR.com. Article was written by a journalist by the name of, let's see, Nate Ryan. And it was an article he wrote based on an interview with NASCAR Vice President of Racing Operations named, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Bryant was the VP's last name. I'm sorry. Um, and it was talking about the logistics of getting all the employees, teams, and equipment across the U.S.-Mexican border for the Mexico City road course race the weekend of June 14th and 15th, or which would be next weekend. And it it is unbelievable the logistical nightmare that this has created for NASCAR, and then all of the teams in the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series, and the pressure, cost. I mean, you name it. It's crazy. The information that was in this article that this Mr. Bryant was talking about. He said he had been in meetings for a year with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency, and then the Mexican Custom agencies to set up the crossings at the Laredo, Texas border crossing for all the team haulers and semis hauling equipment for the race teams and the race equipment for the setup for video, you name it, whatever stages, whatever they have at every race, to get to the track in Mexico City in Mexico. Brian said that there is a strict schedule in place for the Xfinity and Cup teams between Sunday 6/8/25, which is this Sunday, the day of the NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan, and Tuesday, June 10th, 2025, to make sure that all of the Xfinity and the Cup teams go through the customs and the customs process at the Laredo, Texas border crossing. He said that all teams have to go through an extensive inventory of all their equipment in their hauler, and they have to list it on an extensive manifest. So every tool and piece of equipment, whatever's in the hauler, that has to be listed on the manifest. And then they have to go through a large X-ray machine before being allowed to cross the border. Obviously, this process is going to be a little bit easier for the Xfinity Series teams because they're off this weekend. However, the Cup teams will be unloading their Michigan practice car, or I should not say practice car, backup car, and then loading their backup and primary car from the Mexico road course race. So as soon as the checkered flag falls to end the race, the haulers can leave the track and start the 40-hour drive from Michigan to from the Speedway in Michigan to Mexico City at the racetrack. I mean, it's going to be a major cluster, I believe, in the pits with all during the race. You got, the pit crew stuff going on. And then you're going to have people behind the scenes transferring all these cars, and you're going to have you obviously have to have additional trailers and tow vehicles for these other cars. I have no idea how it's going to work. I've never been to Michigan Speedway, so I don't know how big the infield is, but I have no idea how they're going to be able to do all this during a race. I mean, obviously they're going to have to, but I have no idea how it's going to work. And yeah, the time period for the teams is like strict. I mean, the Xfinity needs to be there on Tuesday at the border crossing, and the Cup needs to be there by Thursday at the border crossing. And it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. They hired a company, Rocket. I think it's Rocket Transportation, or it's some international logistic company that does oversees logistics for like musical productions, musical groups, that type of stuff, to assist them in getting this stuff all organized and prepared to go through customs and transport everything. And, just the logistics stuff is crazy, and the timelines that they have to follow. I can't even imagine the cluster it has to be for making sure everybody has a passport. Everybody has, their identification and all the stuff that they need to get in and out of the United States and Mexico. And that, they have all their equipment and, hotels and stuff. And, at the beginning of the year, obviously Bobby, Dave, and I have connections in NASCAR because of friendships we have made through this podcast. And we've heard rumors from the NASCAR people in the NASCAR industry that there are a lot of rumors at the beginning of this race season that several teams and drivers were refusing to go to Mexico for this race for various reasons, such as they were concerned about personal safety, the travel time, the cost, logistics, and then the cost versus the payout for the race. I mean, this race for Xfinity, for what the purse is going to be and what their cost is going to be, they're going to probably lose twice as much money as for this race than they do going to the standalone Portland race, which they lose their butts on. Even the winning team loses money. So I know it's cool that to go to another country to do a race. I know some drivers are excited about it. I mean, the last time NASCAR was in Mexico and raced at the road course was the Xfinity Series in 2008. It's been a while, but seriously, is it really worth doing all this when you have racetracks in the United States that are sitting abandoned that you could be using, that would save the teams money, which my understanding is why NASCAR went to this current gen car to make it equal across the board, was to save money for the teams and create equality. But then you're doing, in my opinion, gimmicks like this, like, going out of the country to do a race. I mean, they're even talking about, a road course race up in Canada, which, the trucks, I know the trucks have raced there. I think Xfinity raced there before. I don't know if Cup ever did. They may have, but this is the first time Cup has ever raced in Mexico City. So it will be I mean, it's going to be cool. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I'm looking at it as a financial and logistics standpoint of how big of a nightmare it is going to be and how much it's, going to cost. Like the cost versus the gain, you know, is it worth it? I mean, I don't know. So I apologize for goofing this all up tonight. It's been a long, long week. So again, I apologize for skipping over my Rob's Racing hot takes and go right to the sponsors, but I thank the sponsors. I'll do it again. Thanks to our sponsors and our viewers, listeners, Spartan Waste, Fox Sports Spartanburg, Harrison's, Action RV, Kylie Glick Racing, Matt Man Designs, The Runner's Roost, Alliance Driveway Solutions, Anna Moore Designs, Circle B Diecast, Driven Sunglasses and Driven Trackside, Elite Towing and Recovery, High Speed Auto, The Racing Warehouse and Armadillo Apparel, Belcher Cheesecake Creations, Flying Form Concrete Structures, Gale Beard Products, Winnings, etc., Dialed In Focus Pouches by Whitetail Smokeless, Benzik Designs, Schatzenbach Landscaping, Enigma Tattoo Studio, Aero Parts Group, Overwear Apparel Group LLC, and Jeremy Clements and Jeremy Clements Racing. Again, thank you all. Greatly appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend. Guys and gals, have a great weekend. Again, we all appreciate the support. Get out there and make sure you support your local short track and race car drivers. They're the future of the sport. And you never know, you may be watching the next great NASCAR driver right before your eyes at your local short track, or racetrack for that matter. On that note, everybody have a good night. Take care.